Hi.
So why don't you get set up, and then today we're just gonna prepare your etude and scale again, okay? So I made arrangements with your mom, so my mom contacted her, and we're gonna record on Sunday, okay? So not tomorrow, but the Sunday after. We're gonna record together again, okay? So this time it should be much easier. I know the piece it was kind of last minute, so you didn't have much time to prepare, but for this one you seem pretty solid, so I don't have any worries for that. Okay, so let's start with our scale. I can share my screen. So before we start this scale, every time I ask you to play, there's one thing that you always forget. So before we play this time, can you tell me what's that thing that you need to remember? Can you tell me what's the thing that you need to...
Do I play it?
No, but first can you tell me what's the one thing that you always forget to do when you play?
The sharp.
Yes, the sharp, right? So this time, make sure whenever you see a F, right, you play the sharps, okay? So why don't you try that one time? So there's a couple notes that are a little too high, so sometimes make sure your C's, so right here, let me show you. So your B and C, these are together, so these are a half step. Remember we talked about half step and whole steps? So can you play these two notes for me? Good, this was perfectly in tune right now. So your fingers have to be right next to each other, right? But sometimes when you start from the beginning, it's a little harder to do. Just keep that in mind. Can you try this one more time? Let's see if we can get it even more in tune. The arpeggio now. Good. So your arpeggio sounds great. I love the vibrato for both, so keep that. One thing, arpeggio, so tempo-wise, you're a little faster on the arpeggio, and that might be because, do you see how in the arpeggio the notes are pairs of 3, right? But for the scale, it's pairs of 4, right? So there's 4, 4, 4. So because of this, there's only 3 notes per group in the arpeggio, so it might seem like it's faster, but you need to play them at the same tempo, okay? So your arpeggio can't be faster. So make sure, even though there's less notes, make them still the same tempo. Okay? So other than that, it's pretty good. All you have to do is memorize it. Okay? okay? So memorizing is something I can't help you with. So please, you memorized it?
I memorized the arpeggio.
Arpeggio?
Yeah.
Do you want to turn around and try playing one time?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So just one note, that was probably just a mistake, but very good. And then if you can memorize arpeggio, I think the scale is gonna be easy because that's just one note going higher, right? So just take some time to do that and you should be great. Okay, so let's move on to our etude. So let's see. Okay. Alright. So now for the etude, there's also something that you sometimes forget. What's that?
The C.
Yes.
I mean
C,
the F.
Yeah. What's up with the F?
It needs to be a natural.
Good. Yes. Good job. So everything here is a natural because we're in the key of C major. Okay. So can you try this one time? Much better. I love your F's, naturals. They're nice and low. Well, low in the good way. And let's see. So this one, I think you're pretty good. Sometimes there's like 2 notes that you mess up, right, throughout the whole thing. So just kind of finalize those notes. And then let's see. Today for etude, I'm not gonna work on your intonation and rhythm anymore. I think those are pretty solid for you. But let's work on getting this more dynamic. So first thing I wanted to talk about was your vibrato. So let's see. your vibrato, I love that you're trying to vibrate every note, but sometimes your vibrato sounds a little not constant. So when we do vibrato, we want to keep our fingers, the timing that we move, the same. So do you see how I'm not going like, right? I'm not speeding up my vibrato, I'm not slowing down, I'm just going at the same speed, right? It's like when you're driving, you're not speeding up, you're going the same speed. So that's how we want to do our vibrato, and that's how we make it sound as smooth as possible. But sometimes I hear your vibrato is kind of unsteady. So sometimes I hear it going faster, sometimes it's more slow, right? So I want to work on getting that a little more leveled out. So for example, this last note, I heard that your vibrato at the end, it kind of sped up. So this is what I heard. Right, so not that bad, but it started off slow and then it sped up. But this is the end of the etude, right? So since this is the end, we want to have a nice ending. We don't want to have a sudden excitement at the end. So for example, this vibrato, you can slow down, right? This one, if anything, you should slow down because it's the end of the song. So do you see how at the beginning I was kind of normal and then it died out, right? So vibrato is something I haven't really taught you a lot of, so hopefully when we're in person soon I can teach you more vibrato. But for now, try and copy what I do, okay? So can you try this last note? Try and die out your sound instead of getting excited at the end. So this time it was a nice constant vibrato, but make sure you hold that last note longer, right? So make sure you count 3 beats. Good, and make sure your vibrato doesn't change your intonation. So this time I heard your C got higher because maybe your finger jerked a little bit, so just make sure you keep the same intonation. Try that one more time. So I still heard at the end. So make sure at the end your C doesn't get higher, okay? So one more time. Good, much better. All right, so same thing for all these notes, they're shorter, so your vibrato sounds great on those. So just keep it up, try and vibrate as much as you can. But one thing I heard, I think for every violinist, the hardest finger to vibrate is your 4th finger because that's the smallest finger and it has the least amount of fat here, right? So you can't, it's very hard to vibrate. Even I have a trouble vibrating that. Like for example, if you look at these 3 fingers, they have a lot of skin, a lot of fat, right? So that's why those are very easy to vibrate. But your pinky is your leanest finger, right? And the width here is very small, so it's very hard to vibrate. That's why in these sections, do you see these 4th fingers here? Can I see your vibrato right now? So pick any note and then can you show me, so scoot down a little bit so I can see your fingers. A little bit, good. Oh wait, can you try that one more time? Okay, wait. I think the Wi-Fi is kind of bad. Let me stop sharing. Okay, try this one more time. Okay, good. So you're doing kind of arm vibrato, which is good. So there's 2 kind of vibratos. We have wrist vibrato where we only use our wrist like this. So I mainly use this kind of vibrato, right? But that that gives you more faster vibrato, right? So actually a comment that my own teacher gave me was sometimes I use too much wrist vibrato and not arm vibrato. So I also have comments from my own teacher saying that like my notes sometimes they're too nervous sounding. Okay, so that's also something I need to work on. So it's great that you use your arm vibrato. So arm vibrato is when you use this area like this. So do you see how I'm moving my arm like this? So there's two kind of scenarios where you need to pick and choose which kind of vibrato to use. So right now, for example, deeper notes that you need more depth sounding, more in depth. An example can be this end C, right? So this last C is a very deep note because it's on the G string, right? So this is an example of a note where you would use arm vibrato. So that's how you make it sound more deep and more luscious sounding. So, right? An example where you would use your wrist vibrato is actually one of these fourth fingers. So you can choose honestly whatever vibrato you want to use. It doesn't matter, but I'm just kind of giving you my advice, what I would do for the easiest way. So for these kind of fourth fingers, since your fourth finger is very weak, you know, mine too, everyone's fourth fingers are kind of weak to vibrate, arm vibrato would be kind of intense, well, for my opinion. So I kind of like to use wrist vibrato for this because it's the easiest. So or I know people that use both at the same time. So vibrato is honestly you can personalize it, okay? So whatever works best for you. So can you try just show me this fourth finger and show me how you would vibrate this one. Oh, on the A string. Good. So right now I can hear by looking at your video, you're not really moving too much. So right now your vibrato, it sounds kind of tense, like this, right? So you're not really moving and your fingers are kind of tense. So try and move a little more, but don't move so much to the point where your intonation changes, okay? Working on that, okay? So work on your vibrato. Don't stress out too much about it. So your main priority you need to remember is that your notes are in tune and they're good rhythm, okay? Those are the two most important things. Vibrato is just an extra step that would just enhance your music even more, okay? So good. Let's see. And then last thing, last week we talked a little bit about your dynamics. So for example here, I told you to follow the shape of the notes. And what I mean by that is, do you see like literally the shapes of the notes? They're going up and then down, right? So let me draw that for you. Here they're going up and they're going back down, right? So we want to follow the shape in our dynamics too. So when it's going up, that means we get louder. And then when it's going down, we get softer. So that's for everything. So another example, here. The shape is going up, so we're getting louder. So let me demonstrate this box for you. So I would get louder. Do you see how I kind of went like up and then back down, right? So So it's a little hard to do at first, but again, this is an extra step that you can go to make your music sound more enhanced. So can you try this one time? Go louder on the up notes and then softer. Good. Try that one more time. Good. So because it's over Zoom, everything kind of sounds loud. That's for everyone. So I couldn't really hear too much detail. I could hear you're doing it, but hopefully next time when I see you in person before our recording, I'll focus more on that, okay? But just
Okay.
practice that. Good job. Your intonation, everything's much better. Just keep working on it, and I think I'll see you on Tuesday, okay? So before our recording, okay? Good job, Joel. I'll see you next time. Bye.